Alrighty. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 9 of my podcast, Every Which Way. My name is Dana, and when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a dinosaur. Has no relevance whatsoever on witchcraft or what we're talking about today, but I just felt like you guys should know that that's a thing I wanted to be when I was a wee girl lass. So, how's everyone been since last I talked at you on my podcast, on this podcast? I've been pretty good. Yesterday, me and my one of my best friends, Steph, we got together and went out on a nice little lunch. And we went to Ross's, and they had some Halloween stuff out. And Halloween's my favorite holiday. I love it so much. All the other ones, they're great and stuff. But Halloween really takes the cake for me. I love it. I love spooky things. And yeah. And went there, and I got a couple of candles. One that I have going right now. It's a clove and wood, and it smells phenomenal. They had, you can't see it, but it's a bright orange Halloween velvet throw blanket, and it's got little mummy cats and little spider webs and spiders, and it's got trick or treat written on it, and it's the softest thing I've ever wrapped myself in. And yeah, and I also got we found a pair of witch plush dolls, and the one that Steph got was brown, and that was awesome. And the one I got was white because I'm white and all that good stuff. And it was a great time. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, I had a nice cup of tea before I started recording. It's gone now, but it was a Mad Hatter tea. At least that's what it was called, and it was so very good. I like that so much. So yeah. So how have you guys been doing? What are you drinking right now, or eating? Uh, are you excited that August is almost over and that soon it's going to be fall and spooky season and all that good jazz? I know I am. Fall's my favorite. So, alrighty. So what am I going to be talking about today? What's this episode going to be about? Well, I'll tell you. Shut up, I'll tell you. It's going to be about moon magic. Yeah. Yeah. I know, right? So I'm just going to go over some interesting facts and all that good jazz. And I'm going to start off with a small list. It's not a complete list, but it is a small list of moon. Sorry, one of my cats, Luna, she just funny. She just decided to walk on one of my brown bags, that one of my brown shopping bags, and yeah. And she's right here. I'm holding her right now. Say hi, Luna. Just gonna sniff the microphone then instead of saying hi. Instead of introducing yourself to our lovely listeners, our friends. Okay. There you go. There you go, baby. Go cause havoc somewhere else. My oldest Salem, he's currently sleeping in the chair beside me, and he's adorable. And my third, Minerva, she's off somewhere else. Doesn't give a doesn't give a damn about her mother, which is great. Love it. Anyway, uh, yeah. On to the topic at hand: moon magic. All right, now the list that I have is just it's not a complete list. It's just a couple that I thought were interesting. So, and it's in alphabetical order, pretty sure. Yeah, looks like it's in alphabetical order. And we're going to start off with Alignac, who is an Inuit deity. Specifically, he is of the moon and weather. There's Artemis from Greek mythology, who is primarily a goddess of the hunt, but is also associated with the moon, but not an actual representation of the moon itself. So there's difference. There's Caradwyn from Celtic mythology, and she is the goddess of wisdom, inspiration, the intuitive process, and the moon. Chang'e from Chinese lore, she is the physical embodiment of the moon. There's this one from Aztec mythology that I don't know how to pronounce, but I'm going to try, and I apologize for butchering it, but Kayo Kui? That sucked. That sucks so bad. Wow. Okay, wow. Huh, wow. I'll just spell it out for you, because I neglected to look it up on the Google. It's spelled Coyolxauhui. Probably butchered that. But anyway, she was a deity who was killed by her brother, and her head became the moon. There you go. Diana, a Roman goddess, evolved from a goddess of the hunt into a lunar goddess. Hecate, a Greek goddess, primarily of ghosts, the spirit world, witchcraft, and magic, but also of the dark moon. That being said, I do plan on doing individual episodes on all of these deities, so I'm not going to get too much into their lore or anything. This is just a quick list that I wanted to include before I actually got into the nitty-gritty. Selene, who is the Greek incarnation of the moon. Cinna, a Polynesian deity, lives in the moon and is considered a protector of nighttime travelers. Khonsu, of Egyptian mythology, spirit of the moon. Lueji, Lueji, from the African Bantu folklore, is a moon goddess. One that when I first looked it up, I actually kind of felt a little pull towards Mama Quilla from ancient Inca mythology, who was called Mother Moon and often resided over menstrual cycles. There's Rhiannon of Celtic mythology, and last but not least, Ursula of Germanic culture, who was later adopted as a saint in Christianity. Alright, so what exactly is moon magic? Well, it's using the energies and phases of the moon to work rituals, spells, etc. Well, that's it. End of the episode. That was all I had. Have a good day. No, I'm kidding. That's not. I have more, I swear. But that's like the bare bones, basic, nitty gritty definition of it. Moon. Big feminine energy. And is typically considered the cosmic counterpart of the sun, which kind of makes sense. Moon worshipping has been around since the Paleolithic times. Ancient hunter-gatherers typically saw the moon as male, while the Paleolithic people believed that the moon, when it disappeared from the night sky, was eaten by a great monster and either regurgitated or regenerated by it whenever it came back into view. Oftentimes, the planting and reaping of harvests were scheduled around the moon cycles, and that led to the moon being seen as feminine and a symbol of fertility. While mostly considered a symbol of agriculture fertility, it was later applied to livestock as well as human fertility as well. Moon worshipping is still common in cultures all over the world. And most cultures represented the moon as a flat, shiny disk. Although in ancient Egypt, they used the crescent moon instead. And part of this is because they also primarily used the sun in a lot of their rituals and in their belief system. And if I recall correctly from my research, the sun was, I guess, I don't know what the word for it. The symbol for the sun was the circle. like that, but the flat enclosed disc. So that's why they use the crescent moon. And the crescent moon was later adopted in the Middle East as a popular symbol for Islamic traditions. As a matter of fact, Allah was once a moon god who was married to the sun goddess and whose children were the stars. In today, Wicca view the moon as a symbol of their divine feminine or goddess. Modern China has a mooncake festival towards the end of September and primarily focuses on Chang'e, who, as we recall from the list, was indeed a female moon deity. And of course, many other cultures from around the world, both in the past and today, also have a very focused view on the moon. Because again, it is very important. It controls the tides, helps control the tides, and it has effect still on this planet and us as a people. So most acknowledge only 8 cycles of the moon, those being the new moon, the waxing crescent, the first quarter, the waxing gibbous, the full moon, the waning gibbous, the last quarter, and the waning crescent. Though some acknowledge a 9th cycle, that one being the dark of the moon. And really, that's kind of a misnomer because more oftentimes than not, the waning crescent is always the final portion of the moon cycle, but right before it goes into that new moon phase, the dark is when the dark of the moon occurs. So it's kind of in a gray area. Oh, and gibbous, which if you're someone like me that doesn't really look up stuff and just takes the things of different value, just means swelling. Swelling as in to grow, kind of like a pregnant lady's belly for the baby. All right, now I'm going to go over each different moon phase and what kind of intention or spell work is most or best suited for that particular phase. So we're going to go first to the new moon, which is also known as the maiden phase. And the reason why that is because quite a few cultures and the deities therein are what are called triple goddesses. Now, what does that mean? That means that they have 3 separate phases of growth throughout a seasonal year. Typically, they start off as a maiden, a young, beautiful, vitality, young, beautiful maiden, young, beautiful female woman who, of course, but whatever. Who is virginal, who is pure, who is just starting to develop and grow. Then the maiden transitions into the mother phase. And this is typically where the masculine aspect of spirit or deity impregnates her with seed, and she begins to grow and expand until she finally gives birth or bursts forth with energy or child. And that child is kind of a representation of the harvests that we then collect and gather. So in a way, it's like the bounty of the earth. And then finally, the mother transitions into the crone, who is typically much older than that of the maiden, a little older than the mother, but prominent feature is that her hair is graying, her skin is kind of withered and wrinkled, she cannot physically bear children, she is barren, And also, she is full of wisdom and knowledge from the past year. And then after that, the cycle repeats as winter gives way to spring, so too does the crone give way to the maiden. And it just repeats in that cycle. That's what is referred to as in a way, a triple moon goddess. It's a deity that goes through those transitions. I hope that makes sense. I really do. And I'm sorry if I confused anyone. I'm not trying to, but yeah. Anyway, so new moon, known as maiden phase. It's the beginning of the cycle and is when the barest trace of the moon can be seen in the night sky. It's often when the moon and sun are in alignment and when the moon rises and sets with the sun. It starts to become illuminated as far as what it gives light. So this is when the moon gives off light, but just kind of barely. Like just a little light, just a little nudge. Spells around this time typically focus on setting up goals, personal changes, new beginnings, and also things that help to conquer challenges and attract things to you. From there, we transition into the waxing crescent. This is the next stage or step. The moon itself is less than 1/4 visible, and this is a gathering of energy. So what's planted in the new moon phase is just now beginning to start to grow. It's a time when solid plans are are starting to become plans of action, as well as clarification, making the practical steps to what you want to manifest or whatever goal you set out to do. It's equivalent to kind of dipping your toes in the water before going directly into it yourself. Following the waxing crescent is the first quarter. This is when the moon is, well, a quarter full, and it's a building on the actions from the previous steps. This is where more confidence starts to become known as more solid progress is made. This is a time where more significant action towards those goals or manifestations start to grow, develop, show themselves. Spell work for this moon phase is usually focused on courage, luck, new adventures, and new skills. After the first quarter, we transition into the waxing gibbous. So we're starting to enter the mother phase of the moon. So this is when she is impregnated and when she starts to grow and she is almost at that full stage. So she has a good amount of energy about her. And it's not, again, not full, but close to full. Full of energy, and this is when the moon helps to give that extra push into actualizing the fulfillment of your goals, your intentions, your manifestations, for when we go into the full moon. This is where the moon reaches womanhood, and that she finally gives birth to that energy that's been building up inside of her. It's a time when you've gone through the stages of growth and actions and is a time to celebrate. This is all about celebration, gratitude, and blessings. But anything can really happen as this is the peak energy time of the moon cycle. Because again, she is full and overflowing with energy. Spells of any and all kind will have the most power during this. She is now considered the full mother moon and a representation of summer and manifestations. All previous work comes to fruition. She's full of wild energy, and it's a great time to make moon water, which I do plan on doing a separate episode about. Consecrate tools or find lost things. And really, with the moon water thing, you can make moon water at any phase of the moon, but a lot of people typically use the full moon because it's at its strongest with that energy. After the full moon comes the waning gibbous. And this is kind of like the waxing gibbous. It's when she is not full, but still pretty big. She still has power, but it's starting to slowly trickle down and slow down. It's a great time for gratitude, for learning, also gratitude specifically about learning and growing. A good time to abandon old habits, dissolve past bad relationships, recharge the good ones, and easing the stress of working, and not just like physical, like actual when you work in real life to earn the monies to pay the bills, but working as far as working on yourself, working on your intentions, working on your spell work, all that good jazz. It's a time of amplifying affirmations to counter negative self-talk. And it's a recognition of the remaining power that's still left. It's a harvest. Spell work is usually focusing on protection, letting go, and the service of others, but also of releasing the bad to focus solely on the good. From the waning gibbous, we now enter the last quarter. And this is when the moon is once again a quarter full. This is the phase of taking responsibility, releasing, and regrouping. It's acknowledging the missteps and the mistakes that may have transpired during your growth towards that full moon actualization. It's a shift in thinking to align with the intentions that you set. It's a time for unfinished business, to kind of wrap that up, to make amends, and also self-care. It's a good time to think on past experiences while also considering any future actions that need to be taken. A lot of spell work during this time is mostly focusing on physical and emotional cleansing, forgiveness, transition, readjustment, and breaking down. This is also when the mother starts to, or has already begun to transition into that crone phase. So she is slowly becoming old and nearing, I don't want to say death, but kind of towards a death of something. After that, there is the waning crescent, which is also known as the old moon or the balsamic moon. This is the time when the crone's work is mostly done and is often, no, not is often, and is the end of the lunar cycle. It's the prime time for reflection, renewal, and self-awareness. It's when the last sliver of the moon is visible in the night sky, and is primarily a time of rest, giving thanks, and recognizing what no longer serves our highest good. The spell work and journaling at this time focus on releasing, letting go, banishment, and breaking bad habits. It's also a good time to embrace life's bittersweetness and accept the wisdom of your life experiences. The main themes are cleansing and rest. And then, right before we officially start the lunar cycle, or before the moon starts becoming visible in the sky, we hit the dark moon. This is when, of course, the moon is at its darkest and disappears from the night sky. This is also considered the moon's rest period and is a time for slumber and contemplation. During this phase is the prime opportunity for peace and quiet in the preparation for the new moon. And it's often confused or interchanged with the new moon, but I like to think of it as a separate kind of thing. Now, I do have, okay, listen, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I had this little book, this little tiny baby book called Moon Spells by Aurora Kane that I picked up this past Friday at Sacred Moon Circle Apothecary, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I was going to read a couple of different spells that you could do during each, well, not during each and every one of the moon phases, because that might take a while, but like kind of four of them that you could do in different transitions, and I kind of forgot to stop in between the phases to actually read them off to you. So y'all are gonna get them now. Hope you're ready. All right, so the first one is, of course, during that new moon kind of phase. And right here, it's one for conquering change. So in this moon, in this ritual, what you're gonna need is a yellow candle and a tiger's eye crystal. Now you want to sit somewhere that's quiet and kind of comfortable for you. You want to put your candle somewhere where it's not going to catch something on fire. You're going to light that, and you're going to imagine yourself acting with confidence and purpose. And while you're doing that, you're going to hold the tiger's eye in your dominant hand and focus on the flame and feel it warm and illuminate your soul. After however long of a time of contemplation you want to have, you may, if you so desire, say an incantation, something along the lines of this. O quiet moon, guide my thoughts as I cast aside my fears and doubts. Fill me instead with peace and resolve as I feel my confidence grow and evolve. This tiger's eye I have in hand reminds me of how change demands. I sit here still and thankfully, blessed for all eternity. And then continue to sit there for a couple minutes after reciting that or a similar incantation and let that quiet confidence start to build within you. And that's the end of that. The second one I have is for an intuition boost. And this is usually during the waxing moon. Where is the page? Now, this is for whenever you kind of need that, intuition boost. So you can either perform this standing or sitting quietly, anywhere, as long as you're comfortable. Close your eyes. Let your mind be still and listen to what it's trying to tell you. If you're unsure what that is, feel free to say aloud the following or something similar. Cleansing moon, cast your light, dispense the shadows nigh. I call on you to heed my cry, awaken sights within. Power my internal eye, make clear what I deny. Or something along those lines. Now for this one, I have for the full moon, and it is a deep healing ritual. And this is, of course, for, deep healing. You're going to want to reflect on what needs healed and create a picture in your mind of what that looks like. So what it looks like for you to be completely healed, okay, and not hurting from whatever it is you don't want to hurt from. Keep this picture that you have in the forefront of your mind. And when you're ready, you can either say one or both of these incantations aloud, or even your own. Again, witchcraft is very personalized, so you can say whatever you want. But here we go. Goddess Moon, tend to me in this time of ill. May your light mend my heart and help my mind be still. Bring me peace that I may use my energy to heal. Goddess Moon, shine on me that better I may feel. Or, silvery moon, beacon of hope, light my path to well. Moon beams bright, sea of light, cast a healing spell. And then the fourth one I have is one for protecting loved ones. Now, what you're going to need for this one is you're going to need some sort of protection oil or some, whatever kind of, holy oil or even water to anoint a candle. And you're going to want 3 black candles for banishment. You're also going to want the following herbs. Sage to represent cleansing, rosemary for fighting evil spirits, clove for protection, chamomile for love, juniper berries for protection against hexes as well as psychic attacks, bay leaves for protection, a teapot with hot water, tongs, a cauldron, matches, and if you want your athame, go for it. And I plan on doing episodes on all of those herbs as well as the athame and the cauldron. So I will get into further detail with those. But if you want, you can go ahead and cast your circle to protect you. You're going to want to anoint those 3 black candles prior to lighting them with your protection oil or your holy oil or holy water. And then you're going to light them. With your herbs, you're going to put them in your cauldron, thinking or telling them their purpose. So, sage, I use you for cleansing. Or clove, I use you for protection. Or bay leaf, your job is protecting. Now, you're going to take a pen, and on the bay leaf, or bay leaves, you write down the names of the people you want to protect. And you can write multiple names on a leaf or a single name per leaf. It's whatever you want. Or even just their initials. While you're doing that, imagine that person being in a protective beam of light that nothing can break through. And that light is your love and this spell. Hold that leaf or the leaves in your hand and then light them aflame via the candles. Place them inside the cauldron, preferably before you burn your hands. And also, if you want to use tongs, go for it. Once you've completed the name, pour the hot water into the cauldron and inhale the herbal fragrance. While you do that, raise your hands to the moon and say, Mother Moon, protect them in the way I can't. Keep them safe, and wrap them in my love. And there you go. There's 4 little spells that you could do for 4 different portions of the moon's growth and not growth. Alright, so let's start. Actually, no, let's not start. Alright, so here's what we're going to do now. I'm going to do a card pull, like I usually do during my episodes. And this time, I'm using my Halloween Oracle by Stacey DeMarco. And because, it's almost Halloween time, and, well, I just enjoy using this deck. I'm going to finish giving it a nice little shuffle here. Hope you can hear that. It's a nice ASMR noise. Alright, one more ought to do it. Okay, and we've got Lady de los Muertos. Lady de los Muertos. Lady de los Muertos. Ooh, I like that. Alright, so this book says, Acceptance and Equality. Pale, you step out of the night, in red lace, full flowers upon your crown. You bring the beauty to death, the equality and joy of the underground. The iconic Lady of Death, with a pale skull-like face, zombie eyes, and rich red funeral flowers in her hair, has become one of the most recognizable symbols of Halloween and the Mexican Day of the Dead, El Dia de los Muertos. The original model for this flamboyant Lady of Death can be traced back to the ancient Aztec goddess. Oh, cheese and crackers. I'm not going to be able to say that. Let's give it a go! Mictecacihuatl. I'm so sorry for butchering that. As time went on, the figure remained balanced between beauty and horror, and morphed into the Lady of the Dead, and eventually into the more modern graphic figure of Katrina. It is also reported the identity of the original Katrina was based on a woman who was very rich and had everything they wanted in this life. Yet death takes everyone equally. So it is a reminder that no matter how beautiful, rich, popular, or famous you were, in the end, death takes all. The Mexican culture has a long-standing history of laughing at death and seeing it as just another aspect of life. Because it is. In some ways, death is the last taboo in many Western cultures. We tend to hide away we tend to hide away or dying, and some of us may never even see the body of someone who has passed in our whole lives. But this was a much more common occurrence in the past. Acknowledging that death is a natural process that will enter everyone's life at some point, and that perhaps until then we can we can choose to be life affirming, takes away much of the fear. Take a light approach to a situation initially, and it may work out better. If you are holding on to something that does not serve you any longer, in particular material things, simplify and let it go. I like that. I like that a lot. And it is a beautiful card. Now, time for me to fish out the next topic for the next episode. Alrighty, and I got one. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes, absolutely. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, it's a good one. Oh, it's a good one. Oh, it's a good one. Y'all gonna be lit. It's gonna be good. You guys gonna be excited to hear what I got coming for you next episode. I'm not sorry about any of that at all. Well, friends, family, fellow witches, whoever else you may be, friends, I thank you very much for listening to my silly voice on this episode of Every Which Way. And I greatly thank you for taking the time and giving me whatever support you deem necessary. I do have a Facebook page for this podcast, again, Every Which Way. I have an Instagram, Witch of the Gathering. And I also have an email, witchofthegatheringpodcast@gmail.com. So if you want to email me a spooky story or anything at all, or if you want to, follow the Facebook or the Instagram to be like, hey, thanks a lot, or hey, Dana, you suck, whatever, life's binary. So it's either or. But go for it, and I appreciate it. Alrighty, so until the next episode, stay witchy, stay wonderful, and I hope that y'all had a marvelously magical Monday. Ta-ta for now.